Today I've got a review of the ArmyTek Wizard Pro V3. Now this is my first ArmyTek light, and after having it for a few weeks and using it frequently, almost every day, I don't think it will be my only one for too long. The flashlights enthusiasts on the internet, especially on Reddit, are quick to recommend the ArmyTek Wizard line of right-angle lights and headlamps for a variety of uses. I'm glad that ArmyTek sent me this light for review so I could experience why it's one of the most recommended brands and models of lights out there. I can clearly see why after using it for a few weeks. During this review, I will be comparing the ArmyTek Wizard Pro V3 to my recently reviewed Olight H2R Nova headlamp, because they're similar size, use same battery and LED, and similar outputs. Comment down below and let me know what you think of this light. Headlamps are useful not only as a headlamp, but in this case as an EDC when repairing cars and other things around the household. Not only will it tail stand, but it'll stand on its head as well, all while allowing you to use the control button. This also sits on its side fairly well too. A light like this is useful for strapping onto your chest, strapping onto a backpack or a tent, just in a lot of different places. Size-wise, it's almost identical to the Olight H2R Nova, as you can see. Both are magnetic here, so they're wanting to attract to each other. But as you can see, they're nearly identical in size and diameter. Here I've got a picture with a bunch of other lights as well, just again to give you a size comparison that I'll roll in here. So weight-wise, I've got both the ArmyTek Wizard and the Olight H2R without batteries with clips. So the Wizard here without battery and clip weighs in here at 2.58 ounces, and the Olight with a clip and without a battery weighs in at 2.22 ounces. So the Olight is just slightly lighter. When I first got this light, I was worried that the button here on the side would be a problem due to how it sticks out of the light. However, it's a firm press and has not really been an issue, other than the one time I was laying on the flashlight while in my pocket and directly onto the light. Even then, it didn't turn on to a bright mode because of how the light functions, so it didn't heat up or burn myself. This light's coated in a black matte finish, and it's a slightly grippy finish. It's kind of an interesting finish to me. It does scratch, but like if you run your fingernail over it, but that wipes off, so it's a really durable finish. I have this in my left pocket along with my cell phone most of the time, so my cell phone case has got a silver edge and it's left some marks here, and these are more permanent, I'd say. I have a hard time getting those off. I did notice that these heat sinks here, which is a new feature in the version 3, they seem to like to collect dust and pocket lint if you're going to EDC this, as well as this ring down here. They're both all kind of sharper edges. These all wash off with water, so it's not really that big a deal. There is a dual O-ring system here, and I think that's to help when charging, and I'll talk more about that later, but that's kind of nice. It really keeps the dust and the water out of the tail cap. And while we've got it apart, here are the threads. They are not square cut. This light, in my opinion, is a little aggressive on the labeling. You've got this labeling up top here that tells you the LED it uses, and that it's white light instead of one of the warmer colors, and that's what ArmyTek happened to send me. You've got the Wizard here with the USB symbol, and then this is actually nice. It says charge and use, and ArmyTek with their slogan born to exceed. It's just a little much in my opinion. I could go without the top marking, and I could go without the ArmyTek logo here and things like that. Probably make everything a little bit smaller if it was my choice. The performance of this light is pretty impressive. It uses a Cree XHP 50 LED. It's a glass lens and it's got the TIR optics in it. So what that means, it really diffuses the light really well. It's primarily a floody light. This one is the wider variant, and I'd say it's fairly neutral. ArmyTek offers really warm lights that are almost yellow, and I don't prefer that, although I do really like a neutral white. ArmyTek lists this as having a 70-degree hot spot and 120-degree spill, and I'll show that more during my tabletop demos. And the range of brightness on the lights anywhere from 2.15 lumens on Firefly Mode 1 to 1800 lumens on Turbo. And run times vary anywhere from 40 days on Firefly 1 to an hour on Turbo 2 if you can cool the light down. So really if it was in water or a really cold environment. The modes on this light are a little bit more complex. If you're familiar with other lights in the ArmyTek lines, the interface is going to be the same as those. If you are new to ArmyTek like I was, a little bit of study in the manual is needed. The entire third page of the manual here is how to operate all the different modes. Now that looks complex, but it's really not terrible. Let me try and explain. I'm not going to go over everything in this review, all the modes that it goes through, but I'm going to go over the high points. This light's organized into 4 modes. The brightness in each subgroup is memorized, so keep that in mind. Group 1 has 3 Firefly modes. Group 2 has 3 main modes, and this is where I operate the light most of the time. Group 3 has 2 turbo modes, and Group 4 has 3 special modes. So from off, you click once, and the light turns on to its last previously memorized mode and brightness. From off, 2 clicks gets you into the previously memorized main mode. 3 clicks from off turns it onto the previously memorized turbo mode. 4 clicks from off turns it onto the previously memorized special mode. Long pressing the button from off cycles through the available modes, Firefly to Turbo 1. When on, 1 click of the button turns the light off. When on, 2 clicks turns it from Firefly to main. And 2 more clicks moves it from back to Firefly there. Or if you're in the special modes, it turns it to the main mode. From on, 3 clicks goes to turbo mode. And 4 clicks goes to the special modes. So I really like this light. Has a lot of shortcuts. It's just a lot to remember. This is definitely one of those things where practice makes perfect. And you really should sit down and study this. I would guess most people will use it in main mode. So really, it's not that big a deal, but it does take a little bit of practice to get used to. This light also has 2 philosophies of use, general and tactical. General is what I just showed you. You click the button, the light turns on until you click the button again. In tactical mode, the switch turns into a momentary switch. So you press it and it's on. As soon as you let off, the light turns off. To switch between, there's a combination of button presses and turning the back end a quarter turn on and off to get it into that mode. This light also has a battery indicator. This button has LEDs underneath of it that indicate a lot of different things, basically battery power level and heat. When on, and this doesn't really show up very well, otherwise I demonstrate it. When it's on, every 5 seconds a short little green blip shows underneath this button. And when it does that, it means the battery is between 75 and 100%. It'll turn yellow under 75%, and it'll flash yellow twice when it's below 25%. And then when the battery's under 10%, it'll flash twice red every second. The light doesn't do this when you're in Firefly mode, and you can turn it on in Firefly mode if you want to with, again, a series of button presses and tail cap turns. There's also the high temperature indicators, which I'll demonstrate here in a minute. When the light reaches 60 degrees centigrade, the brightness decreases in small steps to cool it down. Once cool, it'll step back up to deliver the most light possible. Timed step down is not used in this light at all, contrary to the O light. As your temperatures increase, you'll get a series of LED indicators on the button to let you know visually what it is. So you get a warning with 3 orange flashes, and at critical temps, you get 3 flashes every second at red. The thermal management in this light is active. When using turbo, which it's in right now, the light will provide as much light as possible until it gets to 60 degrees centigrade, and then it'll step down light, giving the light time to cool, and then it'll power back up as it cools down, assuming that the battery has enough voltage to do this. So if you're in a situation where you have a fan or wind cooling this light, it'll run brighter for longer. During my standard test, at 1 minute in turbo, it reached 106 degrees Fahrenheit. I don't have the equipment to test brightness over time via temperature, but what I can do here is simulate that with a glass of water. Now I've had this light on turbo, and it's hard to tell, but that button there, the LED, is flashing red 3 times, so this light is hot. It's warning me that. And it's hot to touch the head of after this time. So I've got a glass of ice water here. I'm just going to stick it in for a few minutes, few seconds really. Just cool that head way down quickly. Also, a nice test of the water resistance there. No problems. But now, if we look, it's no longer flashing red at me. Now it'll easily heat back up again, and you can probably see it's drying off here quickly, and I'll shut it off. But I just think that's a neat feature that not a lot of other lights have, one that works as well as this ArmyTek Wizard Pro. So here's my night shots with the ArmyTek Wizard Pro V3, and I've got it on one of the lower lumens here that shows pretty well on camera, and you can see the LED button here going as well. That green flash meaning my battery is charged. Here are the night shots. You can see it's a pretty floody light, and it does have a warmish center. They say this is at 70 degrees, but if I pick it up and show you, it's a very floody light. Again, it's not very high off the table, but you can really see it really spreads out the light, nice light pretty evenly. Okay, I want to do some night shots showing the difference of the ArmyTek Wizard Pro V3 and the Olight H2R. Now, because the Wizard has so many different modes, I'm not going to show them all, but I'll show you a few. So here I am in general mode, and there's the top mode in general, and it shows up pretty well on the camera. You can see it covers a pretty good distance. You're not going to need more than this, practically speaking. And here's the Olight second from lowest mode, and then I'll bump up again. They're fairly comparable. This mode here is brighter in lumen number. So here's the color difference. I've got the ArmyTek Wizard in white, and then here's the Olight in warm white, and you can see it's quite a bit different. The ArmyTek here is available with warmer options. I just don't have one. So here's the ArmyTek Turbo. This is Turbo 1, which is the lower of the two settings. And here is Turbo 2, and as bright as it goes, you can see it still covers a pretty good distance. It's probably, I don't know, 75 yards maybe to that fence, I'd guess. I really should get my laser distance measure out and measure that. And here is the Olight H2R at distance, and you can see this is 2300 lumens, so it's brighter than the ArmyTek's 1800. But it's not a huge difference. I'd say the Olight is maybe a smoother beam. It covers a little bit greater angle than the ArmyTek, but really these are headlamps, and these turbos are both impressive. So the Olight and the ArmyTek. Having onboard charging of a lithium flashlight isn't anything new. Lots of manufacturers do this in a variety of ways. You've seen me talk about Olight's magnetic charging in past reviews. More recently, the concern about the live contacts and the dangers of potentially shorting the battery have become pretty vocal. The ArmyTek system was designed from the beginning to alleviate these concerns, and it's probably one of the best systems out there for safety. Let me explain how it works. Here's the charging cable itself. It doesn't look that different from others we've seen, other than the cable comes out the bottom, preventing the light from tail standing when charging. But you've got two contacts here, and they're magnetic. On the bottom of the flashlight, you have those two mating contacts. It looks pretty similar to the Olight, as you can see here. So the tail has a large recessed center pin. And to charge this light, you first connect the charger, and then you unscrew the base just a little bit. They say a quarter turn. And when you do this, it begins to charge when I have it hooked up, and I'll show that here in a minute with the lights down. So how it does this is the tail cap is anodized in a way where when it's completely screwed down, that charging circuit doesn't make any contact. They've also went a step further and put a diode in here, so if you have it unscrewed and forget when you're out, after you've charged it, you won't get any outflow of the current. And I've tested this with my multimeter during my testing. So I've turned out some of the lights so I can show you how the charging system works. So I've got it plugged into a power bank right now, and you can see the LEDs are green. And I'm going to just connect it, and you see it goes red and starts flashing. And that means, hey dummy, you forgot to unscrew the tail cap just a little bit. So I'm going to unscrew the tail cap just a little bit, and it goes red solid. That means it's charging. When finished, it'll go to solid green. One of the other big benefits of this charging system is you don't have to use any proprietary batteries like you do on the current Olight system. With this, any standard 18650 that fits and operates a light, you can charge. The downside of the system is that the charging system is a little bit slow by modern standards. With a half depleted battery, I measured it charging at only 0.7 amps. If the battery is discharged a good amount, this means charging via the built-in charger could take several hours, over 5. The other bad thing is you can't lay this light on its head. You've got to stick it up on its tail like this when charging, and that just gets a little bit more cumbersome with the wires. It also does not operate while charging, unlike the Olights. Included in the kit I received, I got a ArmyTek branded 18650 battery. It is 3200 milliamp hours. It is a flat top without protection. And the directions recommend a battery that can maintain a 7 amp discharge or more. This light will run with CR123s, 2 of them, but it's not recommended because you don't get turbo. I don't often talk about the manuals of mini flashlights because they're not always needed and they're usually have translation problems, etc. But in this case, I want to say this is the most complete manual I've seen on any flashlight. It does a good job at explaining its features and has great grammar and spelling. I believe it's written by a native English speaker, and I think it's a benefit this flashlight has by being designed in Canada and not overseas. I highly recommend read through this light or two to better understand all its features. As you can see here, it's pretty extensive, and they do offer a PDF on their website, which I will link to in this. Here is the packaging of the Wizard, and it's a nice white retail box meant to be hung on shelves. And on this side, you've got some of the key features, like it has brightness stabilization, it has the TIR optic, meaning 70 and 100 degree angle there, the peak intensity of 4200 candles, runtime maximum is 200 days in one of the really low modes. It can be submerged in 10 meters of water for 5 hours. It's impact resistant for 5 meters. On the back, you get more details here. You get a QR code to view more details. It tells what's included, which I'll get to in a minute. And it shows what battery options included in there. It's a nice box. Inside's just a plastic blister carton that holds everything else. Included in the box, you get the flashlight and battery. You get the charging cable here. And then you get the headlamp and mounting fixtures and other accessories here, which is what I'll really talk about. First, this light comes with a hand mount, which is kind of nice. It's Velcro and adjustable, so you can make it as large or as small as you need. To that, you can attach this plastic nylon piece that's rather flexible, and that's where the flashlight clips into. The flashlight clips on here really easily. It just uses those 2 rings, and there it's clipped on, and it's pretty attached. I wouldn't worry about this falling off even if you shake it hard. And it does rotate easily inside there. It's a simpler system than what Olight uses, although I'd call the Olight system on the H2R a more secure option with the clip that goes all the way across. So this headlamp here is available in a couple configurations. Some assembly is required, and you're going to need the manual for that. I found it a little bit confusing, but I don't necessarily need that strap that goes over the top. Although they did include one if you want one. I just didn't install mine. It's a nice stretchy strap. I think it's attractive looking with the yellow and the black. And I'll roll in a picture here how it looks on a hard hat I've got. One negative thing I didn't like about it is Once it's installed here, it slides pretty easily back and forth. So you might have to readjust the strap to get it on, to get it just right, because you can see how easily it moves. I found this comfortable to wear and not too heavy. This could use a little bit of padding though, and it will leave a mark on your forehead, depending on how tight you have it strapped to your head. I was skeptical at first of carrying a right angle light as an EDC, but after the Olight H2R, it worked pretty well. And the ArmyTek Wizard Pro V3 is even better due to its fantastic clip design. And let me just show you this clip. It's really pretty stout clip, but at the same time, the hoop part here is pretty flexible. So it clips on the back here, and you could clip it on the side, really either these two sides, and you could even clip it on to the bottom here, or you could flip it around if you wanted to. But for me, I've been carrying it here. Unfortunately, it does scratch up the light some just by how tight it fits, which is a good thing. I do find that it moves around a little bit, but really it's pretty dang secure. What I really like about this clip is that it allows my pants to slide in here and holds it in place. It's a really deep carry, which I like, yet the clip flexes when you need it to. My only wish is that they had a black option, something like a parkerized finish that would wear well. The polished and tumbled clip works well and will show wear the least, so I imagine that's why they made that decision. It takes quite a bit of effort to pull this clip off, and I like the feed ramp there too. That's one of the downsides, but then again, you're not going to lose this light with the pocket clip in there. As you can see, this button is proud and protrudes from the body of the flashlight. You can see there a decent amount. I thought that'd be a problem, but it really hasn't been. It's only turned on in my pocket once. And if you're worried about it, you can turn the tail of the light just a little bit, and lockout will work, and you won't lose any waterproofness in doing that. I'll also add that due to this charging system in this light, you won't have to worry about shorting the battery or starting the fire in your pocket with the exposed contacts. The ArmyTek Wizard Pro V3 is a fantastic headlamp and EDC in my opinion and testing. Its peak performance isn't quite as high at 1800 lumens in comparison to the Olight's 2300, but its advanced modes, advanced thermal protection, and well thought out safe charging system for a slightly lower price than the Olight makes it very competitive and gets my pick as favorite. It makes it a very good choice for a fancy headlamp and for an 18650 floody EDC option. The Olight H2R has a more simplistic mode map, but it also doesn't do nearly as many things or tell you as much data as the ArmyTek. Being my first ArmyTek light, I found the modes took some study to fully understand and remember, but once I got it, it seemed to stick. I think this makes a fantastic choice for a headlamp, but can also be used for many EDC applications. So the short summary and pros and cons list is: Pro, the active thermal management allows this light to be the brightest it can be, as long as it can be, but keeping temps safe for the user and the battery. It's got the safest built-in charging system that I know of, and works with any 18650 battery, no proprietary cells needed. It's a very well-built light with excellent 10-year, no questions asked warranty, and in my opinion, it's got an excellent pocket clip for EDC. The cons of this light are: the exterior writing on this light is a little more than I'd like to see. The modes are a little bit complex without reading the manual, and even then, it takes some practice. Once you understand it though, it's pretty logical. And the built-in recharging system isn't the fastest, but it's probably the safest. Please let me know what you think of the ArmyTek Wizard Pro V3 in the comments below, and make sure you're subscribed for the next gear review.